Before we get into the episode, I'm going to quickly pitch myself. I am indeed a clairvoyant, psychic, intuitive. So if you are needing any guidance in this time of your life or would like to get in contact with your spiritual team and what they have to say to you, please book a reading with me. I have bookings on my website. We can talk over Zoom, or if you're looking for a more affordable option, I also have written email readings or recorded readings as well. So go to my website, and if you are in the Austin area, I am available to be booked for parties and events, so go check it out there. Hello, witches, and welcome to Dusk, a podcast for witches. My name is Zamira Sosa, and I am a clairvoyant, psychic, intuitive based in Austin, Texas. And Dusk is my way of showing you my psychic observations and teaching the psychic way and getting into all of these spooky, spiritual stuff that I really want to talk about in depth with you guys. So if you're a witch, you made it. Welcome. Today we are going to be talking about clairvoyance, okay? And I just want to start this out by saying, if you have not gotten my psychic protection guide, or if you do not know how to psychically protect yourself, don't even bother watching this episode, okay? So the way that this podcast works is that, and I know I sound a little strident with you guys, but for real, I'm just going to be real with you guys. If you are interested in learning more about psychic development, the first and very most thing you need to know is taking control of your energy and protecting it. And I do have a guide on my website. It is linked down below for you to grab it, so that way you know how to protect yourself. And I highly recommend doing that before taking in all of the information I'm going to give you in this video, okay? You can also check out the previous episodes. Like, I didn't feel comfortable talking about clairvoyance if I didn't talk about shadow work, if I didn't talk about psychic attacks and that sort of protection stuff before coming to this episode. So please go check out those videos beforehand, because I'm taking a building blocks approach to this podcast. I just really want to make sure you guys have all of the information you need to not be hurting yourself. I want this to be a safe place for psychics. And there, unfortunately, has been a lot of places in the spiritual community where it's just not a safe place for psychics or energy workers or mystics to learn how to practice. So I'm just being straight up with you there, okay? Another thing is that whenever we're talking about clairvoyance, it might be difficult for you at first, okay? Some of us are very natural clairvoyants, and that's really awesome, but not all of us are. So personally, my strongest clair is actually claircognizance. Like, randomly, I will just know things. Like, I don't have to see it, I don't have to hear it, I will just know things. But I have been able to train my clairvoyance, and it was really helpful, especially in the beginning of my spiritual journey, because at least I had some sort of stimuli to give the messages I was giving. Whereas beforehand, I would just know, and it would be so trust-based that it was confusing. So helping me build my clairvoyance actually helped me trust my claircognizance more and see how powerful it is. So even though people are like, oh, you shouldn't train, things that you're weakest at, honestly, in my opinion, if you do that, it kind of helps you reinforce your other clairs, and then you start to understand better, like, which one you're better at. Something else that really helps your psychic development and your clairvoyance is the chakra journey. So refer to the last episode for that as well. It makes you insanely psychic, okay? I feel like a lot of the information that's put out there in terms of psychic information and clairvoyance, it's very wishy-washy, and it's just not very straightforward. It's not systematic and pragmatic, and that's what I'm trying to bring into this podcast to kind of help you lead yourself. I think right now humanity is at this point in time where we are ready to learn these foundational understandings of how our psychic abilities work, because I feel like at this point in time, I notice a lot of spiritualists keep it hidden, and I understand why they hide it. For one thing, it can be really spooky if you don't know how to protect yourself, and it can be really hard to get right. But I really think that humanity is ready for us to just kind of break things down and make things a bit more transparent and easier to understand. So that is why I'm sharing this, because also there's another layer. There is more complexity and there is more for us to learn as a spiritual community. Psychic readings is only the tip of the iceberg of what our abilities can do. And I'm really feeling the need to be someone who can really showcase that to you guys, so that way we can get deeper and deeper and deeper and really explore these other things we can do with our psychic abilities. Samhain is approaching, and it is when the veil is thinnest in the year. So even my psychic friends were all like, holy shit, like our abilities are kind of crazy, like they're more sensitive. This is the perfect time to start playing with your abilities, as long as you're protecting yourself, okay? Please protect yourself, okay? So this is the best time for you to practice this gift, all right? And practicing your psychic abilities and stuff, because you'll be so sensitive. The very first thing you have to understand about clairvoyance in order for you to really engage with it, and this might put me on some of you guys' shit list, I'm not gonna lie, because it's kind of one of those hard truths that you have to understand in order to even conceptualize being able to have this ability. And you guys are gonna think I'm crazy, but I am an accurate psychic. Like, go on my website, my Instagram, I have reviews and shiz, and I'm blowing people's minds sometimes, all right? So I do know what I'm saying, but the truth behind your clairvoyance, the secret to it, is that it is all in your head and it is all in your imagination. It is. Yep. Let me break it down for you, okay? So first off, I would like to bring up a quote by Muhammad Ali. The man who has no imagination has no wings, okay? Think about that. Your imagination is where your clairvoyance takes place. It is a type of psychic field, okay? And if we're getting really granular about it, it's actually the mental plane, which is also considered the astral plane, okay? The astral field is a place that exists, but it's also a place where we're able to create instantaneously. Whenever you think a thought, it exists in the astral plane. When you think about manifestation, you're playing a lot in the astral plane whenever you're doing things like visualization techniques to bring your manifestation into being. There's this concept in manifestation that whatever you want exists, you just simply have to pull it and ground it down from the ethers into physical reality. And so this is kind of how we can understand what clairvoyance really is and how it operates. Your clairvoyance, your imagination, is a place not only to play and to imagine, but it's also a place to practice, and it's also a place to receive information. If we are just looking at spirituality from a purely 3D lens, in the physical 3D plane, this is not possible. It's just not. And I have seen people, I've met people, and I've had experiences where the 3D plane does become very lucid and you can physically see with your eyes just crazy shiz like orbs and spirits and stuff. So I'm not saying that's not possible at all, but if we're thinking about it from the everyday human type of lens, it's very unlikely that if you haven't already seen ghosts, orbs, and just crazy things in your reality, it's very unlikely that you're going to be seeing that, and that's how psychic information is going to show up to you, right? It's going to happen in your imagination. So if we think about dimensions 4 and up, this is where manifestation is super easy, where we are creators who can do whatever the flip we want. But understand this is a layer that is beyond physicality, right? So it's not going to look the same way. It's not going to operate the same way, right? And I'm talking about this in an energetic sense, very vaguely. I'm not talking about like what science has picked up on what the 4-dimension is. In the 3rd dimension, there is truth and there is falsity, right? There is duality, right? One thing can be true and the other thing can be completely wrong. Like, we are not able to see ghosts most of the time, so ghosts must not be real. But in the 4th dimension, everything is true, right? So literally everything is true because you can create everything. And that's kind of what's happening right now with human evolution, is that we are starting to understand that we can create our realities because we're able to play around more in these upper planes and ground them better into the 3rd dimension. That's how we can also tell that everybody's consciousness is rising and becoming higher, because we have access to that ability. Manifestation, energy work, receiving psychic information, that all happens in the 4th dimension and above. Not just the 4th, but 4 and above. This is also where you engage with your guides, even though your guides at times will give you something called a calling card, which is whenever you call upon your guides, they'll touch you to let you know that they're there. I know sometimes they'll touch me on the arm. People are saying, I can't see anything. It's because you're not looking with your 3rd eye. It's very unlikely to see things physically, even though it is possible. It absolutely is. It's going to be in your mind's eye. It's going to be in your imagination. So let's get into intuitive tricks. After you've already prepared your space, protected yourself, put up shields, containers, or whatever your mode of protection is, if you're having trouble with your 3rd eye, things that you can do to solve that is, 1, activate it, imagining a indigo light swirling around your 3rd eye and activating that space so that way you're able to just see it better. You'll be able to feel it. And it's really helpful imagining this light because you literally can start feeling the energy work that you're doing there. And yeah, then it starts becoming clearer for you to see things. You can also tap it to activate it. Do whatever you need to activate it. And there's so many other ways that I encourage you to go and look up, okay? Another thing you can do that really, really helps is imagining a screen. This is how a lot of beginners start out with their clairvoyance and understanding how to engage with it and how to work with it. Okay, because for a lot of people, it's really hard to just see images in their mind's eye. It's almost like you have to imagine a platform in your mind for the images to come through, okay? So if you are able to imagine a screen in your mind, especially in the beginning, for me, it looked like a retro TV. And all of the information I would get would be like pixelized. It would look very video game-esque. And then I started upgrading it to like a portal, and it was cool looking. Like it looked like it was a World of Warcraft. It just started upgrading till now I don't really need a screen anymore, like, because I'm so familiar with the clairvoyant landscape that it can just pop up in my imagination and I can relay the information. So the better you get at clairvoyance, the less you'll need the screen. And I'm not gonna lie, it really kind of is that simple. It's one of those things that it's a huge paradox. Like, clairvoyance is a huge ass paradox. On one hand, it's super easy and super playful, super lax. And then on the other hand, it's like, it's so easy that it's hard. Sometimes you'll notice, like, if you're trying to get that psychic information, if you're trying to get the clairvoyance, sometimes you'll notice nothing comes through, or you're worried that nothing comes through. And with all types of psychic development, it's just really important to train, to trust, and to also play. Okay, these things work so much better when you're not worried about getting it right, when you're not worried about if it works or not. It is so much easier to engage with your psychic abilities if you come from a feeling of play and fun. So that's why I really recommend anybody who's wanting to get into psychic development and clairvoyance, you have to practice like a shit ton before you really like go out there and like yeah, I'm a psychic now, right? Practice on yourself, let your intuition lead you, let the clairvoyance lead you, and see if you can get any images that pop up that'll help you out. And if that doesn't work, or you feel like you're ready to take it to the next step and go to friends, then do that as well. Just start training as much as possible. And the hugest thing that you can do is trust. This is really, really hard to do. Sometimes you'll just see random ass shit that you have no clue makes any sense to anybody, but you'll see it and you'll just be like, I just saw that, but I don't know if I should mention it, right? One instance, I was doing a practice reading on someone, and whenever I was tapping in with my clairvoyance, I saw a blueberry bush or like a berry bush of some sort. And I felt like it was so stupid. They're going to think I'm phony. How could that mean anything to anyone? And I told them, and they said, oh my God, yes. Like, I go to this bush every day and I tend to her every day and she makes me feel so good. And it was just a beautiful moment. Basically, the message that was popping up was that grounding, going back to nature, making a relationship with your plant babies, like that's going to help you carry through some really difficult times at this moment in time. So sometimes the images that come through on your clairvoyance, they'll be super literal, or sometimes they'll be super symbolic, okay? And this is the other thing about clairvoyance that makes it so easy yet so hard, is that it is literally a language that you have to learn for yourself. Okay, so you can make agreements with your guides like, oh, if you're trying to say this, then show me this symbol. Or for an example, if this is a love reading and if this is about love, show me a heart or a rose or something like that. You can make agreements like that, sort of like what I mentioned in the synchronicity video, in order to start receiving these images coming through on your screen. But sometimes they'll show you either the memories or points of view of that person, or it'll just make up a landscape and a scene of where that person is. And you can kind of see from that scene and divine from that scene what exactly they're trying to tell you. So it's kind of hard to tell, like, oh, is this a literal thing you're telling me? Or is this a symbolic message that you want to send to this other person? Okay. If you have difficulties with creating this clairvoyance and practicing everything for yourself, one thing you can do is affirm some affirmations. They do work, okay? Like, even though they feel silly, even though it feels like it doesn't work, they do work, and they do plant seeds of confidence into you, so that way you're able to better engage with your clairvoyance. And something else that you have to consider is that one day your clairvoyance or your psychic abilities are popping, they're on point, like you feel like a superstar, and then the next day you just don't know what's going on. It's just not coming through the same way. It's not as consistent. Your abilities wax and wane, and they respond to what's going on in your system. So for me, for instance, if I'm doing readings really late in the night one night, and then I have to wake up early and then go do it again later or earlier in the day, my readings are just not going to be as impactful because I'm tired and I didn't get as much sleep or whatever. So that's why it's really important to take care of yourself and your human vessel, like feeding it the right foods and getting movement, getting rest, because all of that impacts your abilities as well. But also sometimes, the abilities are poppin', and sometimes they're just not as poppin', and you have to kind of be okay with that. Like, intuition is a very, very flexible environment. It's very volatile. So how do you know you're not out of your mind? Like, you're seeing something, but you feel kind of crazy. Like, why would that come through? Or am I just making things up and blah, blah, blah? Well, first off, practice. Second, you can cross-check with people. If you go to one psychic and they're good, and you go to another psychic and they're like the same level of good, they're going to be giving you these same exact messages. And I see this all the freaking time. Like, I just be seeing people giving these same messages over and over to where some people get pissed off. They're like, well, I just went to this other psychic and they gave me the same exact message. And it's like, well, yeah, because you're doing the work. So it is possible to cross-check your intuition with other people. Like I mentioned in my Harpy video, like you can get somebody else to cross-check for you. Without saying exactly what you said, you can sort of check out whether or not it aligns with what the other person has seen as well. So that's a way you can tell you're not crazy and you're onto something there. Another thing you can do to get better at seeing visions is imagining. Holding an object in your mind, imagining an object in your mind, and being able to move it around. One thing you can do is like hold an orange or a strawberry and look at the strawberry and really see it vividly in your mind, twist it around. And then, or you can think of a ball. Think of the ball, throw it around, think about it moving. Imagine a fairy or a little object like moving around you and all over your room and stuff. So you can really get this like landscape and understand how vast your clairvoyance is. Think about these images and really hold them in your brain, like hold a certain color in your brain for as long as you can. Hold an object in your brain for as long as you can. All of this really trains the third eye. It's also a muscle. You can do energy clearing, which I have talked about in my removing like entities video, my spiritual protections video. You can do some clearing through shadow work and all of that jazz in order to make your sight more visible. In the very beginning, whenever I was seeing images, it was black, like it was in this black landscape and I could barely see. As I've gone through my own clearing journey, and to be fair, it's been an intense clearing journey. I've done a lot of work on it. Now the images that I see are a little bit hazy. Sometimes they're super clear, and then other times they might be just a bit hazy. So you'll notice as you do energy clearing on yourself, as you evolve as a person, your sight opens up more and more. Before I sign off here and let you practice, let's do a practice intuitive test. Okay, so I'm gonna think of a color and you have to guess what color I'm thinking of. Now I'm thinking a bunch of colors, and I'm gonna hone in on one color. Which color? Okay, I'm thinking of color. Which is it? I'll give you a moment. Pause the video. Really tap in. I'm really trying so hard to send it to you, all of you guys. Do you guys feel it? Okay, guess what color it was? Guess what color? It was purple. Violet, indigo-ish. It was really like a pinky purplish color. That's what I was imagining, which is funny. Whenever I was reeling it, there was like this pinky color, but it wasn't quite purple. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, or please subscribe to support my channel. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and I will happily, gratefully get back to you. Get my psychic protection guide or book a reading on heyurpsychic.com, heyurpsychic.com. Book a reading with me. Sending a bunch of love to you guys. Bye!